Aha! I knew that Steve would have a very high placement in my top 100 favorite characters ranking, and I kept changing my mind about where to put him. Um, I did settle on him being in my top 10 pretty early on, but I was thinking, oh, where should he be? I think for a while I had him at 5, and then I think he got higher. I think he eventually got to number 2, being my second favorite character from everything that I've ever seen, which is quite impressive. And I think Steve ended up being the only male character in my top 5, which is pretty interesting. I love Steve so much. Steve just feels like the most likable guy in the whole world. I adore Steve so much. It's just hard not to be in a good mood when seeing Steve and to feel my mood being changed into a more upbeat feeling when Steve's around. And I love Steve's shirt. I love Steve's attitude. I love the way that he talks to his friend. I love his compassion. I love his thoughtfulness, his sense of humor, and I love how gentle and thoughtful he really feels. And Steve is just one of the most delightful people to watch. And Steve works so well as the lead. The early seasons of Blue's Clues are absolutely fantastic, and it's hard not to have some fun from seeing him. I love the early seasons so much, and I love Blue's big musical movie, and Steve also works incredibly well as a guest star. His guest appearances in Blue's Clues and You are some of the most memorable parts of the show. He gets so many great moments in Blue's Big City Adventure. Steve is just absolutely delightful. So I don't think putting him second on my top 100 favorite characters list is too bad. It is pretty high. I think that Batman would be my favorite male character if a lot of stuff hadn't been done with Batman that I don't really care for. Where Steve has felt so consistently great, and I think what really helped was thinking to the year specifically of 2022, where there was The Batman, which is my least favorite Batman film. I think it's a contender for my least favorite film. I really felt so bothered by it on a very personal level. And in that same year, Blue's Big City Adventure, where Steve is still great and is still delightful, and where it felt like Batman had lost his way, Steve still has his wonderfulness. And so I felt like that really showed to me that Batman, I still love him, but I don't think that he's the best anymore. And I feel like Steve hasn't stopped being one of the very best. Um, I do think that number 2 on my top 100 favorite characters list could be a little bit higher than Steve possibly deserves, but I do love Steve so much. I'm not regretting putting him in second place that much. I absolutely love Steve.